While the world has been mourning Queen Elizabeth, Russia's head of state, Vladimir Putin, has suffered a catastrophic loss in Ukraine. His army in the northeast has now broken, many of his soldiers fleeing in scenes of absolute chaos, even farcical, running into trees or driving into rivers in their desperation to escape. Because Ukraine, you see, has pulled off one of the great counter-offensives in military history. First, last month, it fooled Russia. It bombarded Russian forces in the south around occupied Kherson before advancing on surrounding towns there. And Russia thought this was Ukraine's big push. And it rushed in reinforcements from the east, from around Kharkiv, Ukraine's second biggest city. But last week, that was exactly where Ukraine attacked in its real offensive, pushing past Kharkiv, there at the top of this map, all the way to the Russian border. Now, as of Saturday, the Ukrainian army had liberated 2,000 square kilometres of territory, shown in blue there. And they're still going, being greeted as liberators while the Russian command admitted they had to retreat, or as they prefer to call it, regrouped.
Принято решение перегруппировать российские войска, находящиеся в районах Балаклеи и Изюма.
Joining me is Michael Shoebridge, a former senior official in our Defence and Intelligence Services. Michael Shoebridge, thanks for your time. How important is this breakthrough?
Well, it's phenomenally important, Andrew. It's really changing the war. If you remember, the start of this war was a war of movement where the Russian invasion was rapid, but then the Ukrainians pretty quickly used movement against them and pushed them back. And now, after a time of attrition, the Ukrainians are winning another phase of a war of movement. And they seem much better able to command and control and support their forces than the Russians have. And that's why we're seeing this breakthrough in the northeast. So it's reversed the momentum in this war.
Boy, has it done that or what? How did the Russians get caught out like this?
Well, I think you gave some of the meat of it with the deception from the Ukrainians that their major offensive was going to be in the south around Kherson. And I think that is a real offensive, but it's still quite attritional, and the Russians are pretty heavily dug in. But the Ukrainians had enough forces to mass them in the northeast around Kharkiv, and as you say, have broken through down towards the Donbass and severed some key Russian supply lines. And the most impressive thing is the planning and discipline to assemble that second attack and to conceal it from the Russians. So it's an intelligence and military failure from the Russians and an intelligence and military success from the Ukrainians. The question now is, can the Ukrainians sustain the momentum and support their forces as they continue?
Well, that's true, because they're extending their supply lines. That makes them vulnerable. But I wonder, with the Russians like this, they're fleeing back home. Commentators are saying, you know, we've got to even perhaps shoot people who panic. It's a major blow. Have they got what it takes to push back? Or could this, you know how it is, you know, someone running inspires other people to give up and run as well. Could this inspire a wider retreat by the Russians?
Well, it could, particularly in the northeast, because the one thing, the glaring failure of the Russians throughout Putin's war has been their ability to supply and command and control their troops. Well, now all of that is in even more disarray, and the Ukrainians are taking full advantage. I suppose what's on my mind is, can the Russians regroup? And for all those reasons, that doesn't look terribly credible. Will they collapse before the winter sets in, when more offensives are more difficult? That's still quite a bit of time away, given the speed of the Ukrainian attacks. And what other options does Putin have? And he's made tactical nuclear threats before.
Well, that's the thing. How is he going to react, and will he drop it? I mean, he's already dropping, shooting missiles at Ukrainian cities, just anyone, and trying to target energy installations to cause blackouts in sheer rage at what's going on, to save face, I guess. But I really wonder, you know, he started this war with an army that was said to be the second strongest in the world after the US, maybe the third strongest after China as well. How can Ukraine now be humiliating it like this? And what does it say about Putin's tenure in that job?
Well, I think he's still in control because he's created no one around him that dares challenge him. He's still hoping that the longer term, all of the economics will go his way with the European winter coming on and an energy crisis there. But I think the speed of this military reverse will have shocked him. He's been used to getting bad news about the war, but this is probably the worst news he's had since his failure to kill President Zelensky and Zelensky's famous line about, "I don't need a ride, I need ammunition." So really, Putin is going to have a hard time presenting this as creating a greater Russia. And that is probably the most dangerous aspect.
I just think, like I say, with this propagandist on state TV already acknowledging what's going on there, these are very dangerous times for him. And heaven knows what's going to happen now. It's just terrific news. It's such a tribute to the Ukrainians to have fought like this against all the odds and to achieve this spectacular breakthrough. Michael Shoebridge, thank you so much indeed for your time.